listening to The Breakfast Show on Faith FM. This is the third hour of our program. I'm your co-host, Skafy, and of course I have the Lawson of all Lawsons here with me at the table, and producer Shell.
Wow. So honored, so elevated.
Yeah, of course, man. Like, you're like as far as I'm concerned, you're like the best Lawson there is.
You know
I mean, surely you're the only one that I know, but still, you're a legend.
Well, hey, look, I won't shy away from claiming it. You're listening to The Breakfast Show. Let's get a quiz question, please, producer Shell.
All right, our fourth one for the morning. For how many days, according to Revelation 11, will the two witnesses prophesy? For how many days, according to Revelation 11, will the two witnesses prophesy?
I've got an answer here. Is it?
I don't believe you're right.
If you don't think I'm right, just say, nope, you're wrong.
I have a multiple choice, and that's not any of the options. Yeah, Skafy's got it.
Just needed a moment to think through, but here we go.
What?
Yes, you got it. All right, our options are A, 1680, B, 1844, C, 760, or D, 1260. So those are the amount of days. According to Revelation 11, how long will it take for the two witnesses? Will they prophesy for?
Yeah.
Okay, is it A, 1680, B, 1844, C, 760, or D, 1260 days. Okay. So those are your options.
There you go. Hey, 0491 064 669. Text in your answer on the line. We've got a lot of people who have been claiming a giveaway for today, which we'll speak to in a bit. We've also got David on the text line. He says, Shell knows that I love Alan Jackson country gospel songs. We're asking people, what's your golden buzzer go-to, the songs that you love singing, as I was sharing about, the particular news story that singing is like one of the best things that you can do for your holistic health. And then we've got Chanel on the text line. She writes in and says, why is health so widespread now? Now, I read this comment and
it's a good question.
I'm thinking, in what, like, does she mean like ill health widespread, or does she mean just health, the topic of health in general?
The topic of health. I think that there is more, because Dr. Sell was telling that, never before health, good health was so widespread, because back in the days we had a genuine ignorance about it, but there has been a lot of promotion of health. I think that you can attribute to a lot of factors, just general awareness. And you have to give credit where credit is done. I think that governments worldwide have done a good job in promoting some basic health facts around, and use their resources to do that.
I mean, we're not paid off by the dairy industry.
No,
just
by the
cheese caves and
but I think that in general. And then,
I am from Wisconsin, the dairy state, so it's a possibility.
And you can say, and you can say for a good reason, because in countries, particularly where you have universal access to healthcare, there is a cost. And a big cost that you need to pay with taxpayers' money when someone is not healthy and they have preventable issues, healthy conditions that could, through a better lifestyle, be completely managed or even wouldn't even exist. So governments do have an incentive so that they can spend money somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I would say that's that. But then look, just social media, publications, just awareness, the science behind it. But for the Christian that's reading the Bible, the sound principles of health have been there for like 4,000 years. It's very rare that you find something that is truly, truly new. That
100%
was completely out of the loop. Like these things, sleeping well and exercising and having exposure to fresh air and all these kinds of things that might have, particularly after the Industrial Revolution, started to become less and less common. Mm-hmm. Social relationships, trusting God, all these kinds of things. Look, if you read the Bible, it's all there.
Yeah, 100%. I think some of the new quote-unquote health revolutions that come through, they kind of catch people up in a bit of a whirlwind, but then we go on to see the really harmful side effects. I mean, probably one of the best recent examples is something like Ozempic, right? It's like a semaglutide. So people were literally like, when that hit the shelves, because it was originally
the new craze.
Well, it was originally developed as a diabetes medication, and then all of a sudden you could inject it and get skinny, and like, they were even saying in some tests people were making like just better life decisions in general. Like people were taking a semaglutide and like not gambling and like these kinds of things, being better with their money and that kind of thing. Ultimately, what they found then is that, now you're like have to be on this drug for life, and as soon as you stop, then you lose all effects. In fact, your life gets worse, and many people who take it actually, have really, really bad side effects. And it reminds me of other dietary crazes. The big one,
particularly people that take that, from what I was researching, in high dosages.
High dosages, yeah.
Yes. And there has been like some, a number of, for example, one of the side effects, look, they are rare. They are rare, but one of the side effects that is often not talked about is spontaneous blindness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People going blind from taking
and
this.
there's a number of people, I think that in the United States alone, I think there was like 80 cases of blindness that was attributed to the intake of semaglutides.
Yeah.
And that they launched a big lawsuit because they said, look, this was not clearly informed enough and so on. But again, for the big pharma like that, Novo Nordisk and so on, like it's just,
they just pay it.
Yeah, I mean, we pay it.
They pay it or they fight it.
It's a very small percentage. And they're basically, I think there's someone saying like 20% of the revenue in Denmark.
I think it's more.
I think it's more,
yeah.
Became from this sales.
Come from one company. I think it's more. I think it's like 40% or something.
Yeah, it is
crazy.
Something absolutely crazy.
But you look at, people talk about like paleo or this, that, the big one, like I have a few friends actually who've gone carnivore. So that just eating
really?
meat alone. And what's really interesting about it is like, particularly like these people are generally healthy, like they go to the gym and stuff like that, and then they just eat meat and they immediately get a massive dose of protein, which sustains their working out and kind of thing. And so they actually get decent gains, lose some fat. But then they like can't go to the toilet, or like they go to the toilet once a week. And then what they found as well,
imagine that.
What they found then as well,
gnarly.
and this is information that we already understand, like from the bodybuilding of the 1970s, an era that was pre-protein shake, and it was animal protein. That was like the thing. It's just like eat
healthy,
eating 10 steaks a day or whatever it may be to be that massive big bodybuilder, because protein shakes were anything. Like a lot of the people that came through and out of that era, like getting the amount of them that got like colon cancer because your body, or bowel cancer, because your body can't actually process that much like animal proteins and fats,
and it's rotting there for like long periods of time.
That's right. And then that went away, in the advent, and also lots of people taking steroids, but that went away in the advent of like, you can get your protein through a different source, and then now it's kind of come back into vogue and fashion, and those people that are on that now, they're kind of putting themselves on the same train tracks towards bodily destruction they were on before.
I fail to understand, Lawson, because like, even from you and I believe that God created human beings, according to the book of Genesis, to be plant-based.
That's right.
That's the ideal. Okay,
that's the ideal.
That's the ideal. For humanity. And when you look at the body's design, we have all of the traits of a lot of traits of plant-based eating. For example, we see in collars, like full collars.
Yeah.
Carnivore animals, for example, they don't see in colors. They see pretty much roughly black and white and in certain shades. So because they don't need to see if a blueberry is ripe or if it's rotten. They need to see something that will help them decide if there's moving animals fast so that they can go and hunt. Their digestive tract is much.
Do you think that's a gene switched off? Because I believe that all the animal kingdom
were created as well to be plant-based, 100%. So I think that's a gene that was switched off. There was an adaptation.
Yeah.
But you look, for example, at them, you can talk that in terms of adaptation as well. Their digestive tracts are very, very tiny compared to herbivores or compared to us. Like our intestines, like 9 meters long. If you unwrap them and unwind. Whereas of a cat is just like super tiny, and there's a good reason for it. All of that raw meat being processed there. You just want it to get out of your system as soon as possible.
Yeah.
You just wanted to get it straight away. This is why the transit time for these animals is like it's very quick, because it's for a good reason. Because if you leave all of that animal-based carcasses rotting there, it is going to generate all kinds of toxic compounds. And then you see people that are eating that 24/7, 7 days a week. Not even, I don't understand. And look, surely people are thinking short-term gains. It's just like, it's just doing this for like a couple of weeks. I could understand that. But to make that a long-term lifestyle choice, I think you're shooting yourself on the foot big time.
Yeah. You know what's even interesting? Because like we're speaking to, the original thing we're speaking to is why is health so widespread now, and you kind of, what we're saying is there's this balance of like information regarding good health is incredibly widespread, but simultaneously people aren't using aren't using it. That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
I want to point out a curiosity to you. You've heard of the blue zones, right?
Oh, yeah.
Of course. This is like foundational research. It's, the areas in the world in which people regularly live to up and over 100 years old. And there's like the original blue zones. There were 5 of them, Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia in Italy, Icaria in Greece, Nicoya in Costa Rica, and then finally Loma Linda in California. What's very interesting is, Okinawa, Sardinia, Icaria, and Nicoya, like all 4 of those areas compared to Loma Linda, it's a similar culture and similar ethnicity, similar background, versus Loma Linda, which the thing to highlight about Loma Linda, firstly, it's in the United States. It's in California, which, has the highest rate of lifestyle diseases, of a lot of places in the world. It's really up there. And, we all know the stereotypes about, obesity in America. This is like in the heart of California. You've got this area called Loma Linda. And the reason is because the people that live there, the majority of them are Seventh-day Adventists who follow the biblical health principles of the Bible, which is like vegetarian and these kinds of things. One interesting curiosity regarding the blue zones that came out recently is that in specifically Okinawa and Sardinia, where all these old people were living, is that apparently all of the old people that were living there, like not all of them, but a lot of them are actually like dead, and it was a pension fraud essentially in these 2 areas. Like there were people in Okinawa who were like receiving pensions who were 200 years old, and there were people in Sardinia in a similar state, in a similar case. And so what's interesting is it actually narrows down the blue zones even further too, because Okinawa in Japan and Sardinia in Italy, it's like, oh, these people eat meat and they're healthy and they live long. It's like, oh, actually those guys are it's actually frauds. It's like fraudulent blue zone. And what we're seeing is, I'm not sure about Nicoya, I'm not sure about Icaria, but Loma Linda then, if it's one of 3, the specific reason why it is that they are living long, both long and healthily, with less disease, with less time spent sick, is because they eat plants and they follow Jesus. And they keep the Sabbath and they do the things that God says. Like this is just the reality.
It's
of
a
the situation.
lifestyle very conducive to health. And Chanel said actually, Lawson, that she was not asking why was health so widespread. Actually, she wanted to share a quote with us to explain why.
Okay.
She has a quote here. It says, "God designs the great subject of health reform shall be agitated and the public mind deeply stirred to investigate. For it is impossible for men and women with all their sinful, health-destroying, brain-enervating habits to discern sacred truth.
Wow.
Through which they are to be sanctified, refined, elevated, and made fit for the society of the heavenly angels in the kingdom of glory." So according to that quote that she shared, thank you so much, Chanel, the author is saying here, look, actually it was in God's plan. God devised behind all of these things that we're talking about, that men and women would actually do something for their health, because without a good health, without a brain that can think properly, how can you devise the sacred truths of the Bible?
Yeah.
You can't.
Oh, dude, I'm just, every time I do Bible studies with people and pretty regularly we get into the topic of God's recommendations on health. I did a Bible study last week with someone on alcohol, and I did a Bible study with someone last week on, you know, the biblical health laws. And every time I open the Bible and read these, I'm just like, this was written 4,000 years ago.
Yeah,
like,
it's hard to believe,
people
right?
were like, healthy people 4,000 years ago were like, oh, we're healthy. Let's try and drink mercury to live forever and stuff. Like that was the health information of the time. It's like, you know, like every
Smoke
time.
cigars, that's good for your lungs.
Oh, this is
Absolutely.
100 years. That's 100 years ago, right? We're talking 4,000 years ago. And the Bible is so clear. Like, hey, don't eat things that eat other things because it's bad for you.
Yeah.
Like, come on. It's incredible. It's incredible. I got another text message here from Mark. He says, good morning. Is there any way I can listen again to Skafy's interview again with Dr. Louis Seller? And the answer is absolutely, Mark. Yes, you can. We will be uploading, as we always do, every single show onto the Faith FM app, and you can jump in and listen to the interview there. So check out for that later.
So you can listen to it in the full show version, which we have all 3 hours divided up for you for your podcast, or we have a special interview page that just has the interviews, and the interviewer will be named there so you can find it easily.
Very good. And Melanie sent a message as well. Hey, good morning. Loving your health chat this morning. The Maker Heals program is a great program to start making those diet changes if one doesn't know where to start. It can be overwhelming to know with so much conflicting health advice. Have a wonderful day. And she gave here makerheals.org.au. Have you heard about that one?
Yeah, I want to shout out the Maker Heals actually, because my wife, Shanna, loves Maker Heals. She's been a part of running these programs as well. And, you know, shout out Joy Cho and a lot of the guys who, were and have been running these programs in Australia. Yeah, like I want to really subscribe and suggest to you, if you are looking for a place, they're actually starting to run these programs in a health facility in Grania, which is right down on the Murray River. So, you know, on the border of New South Wales and Victoria. Yeah, if you're looking to go to a place to find good health, then yeah, check it out, makerheals.org.au.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
Lawson, I'm keen to continue that Bible study with you, but first, let's get a new quiz question, shall we? And the answer to the previous one?
Our answer for our last question. For how many days, according to Revelation 11, will the two witnesses prophesy? That is 1260.
Yes, 1,260.
That is correct.
How do you interpret the two witnesses, Lawson, in the book of Revelation? What do you make
I
of
know
that?
the answer.
Oh, producer Shell, please.
Yeah. I'm sure this has come through on Question of the Day, right? And
Yeah,
the Shell Show has talked about it. Tell us about it.
The Old Testament and the New Testament
That's right.
are the two witnesses.
Yeah.
Or the prophets and the apostles.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. That's the best interpretation that I have seen. On this topic.
Are you sure it's not me and you?
No. Even though we are two witnesses, but not those ones, and definitely not.
Hopefully we don't get killed in the street.
Years.
And you are both prophet and apostles, if you take prophet to mean its original meaning of pastor.
Yeah, all right. Very good. Oh, prophet and pastor are not the
they're not
original
the same.
meaning, though.
No, they were used simultaneously in the olden days.
Oh,
In the olden
really?
days. Like how olden days?
Yeah.
Like 100 years ago? Or?
50 years?
Yeah,
This is our
a
prophet,
long time ago.
Lawson Walters.
Longy ago.
Okay.
Well, look, let us just make it clear here.
It has two meanings.
Like,
Really? Okay.
when it comes to prophets, and this is a pet peeve of mine. When we often think about prophets, we're thinking about people receiving these visions from heaven, and guessing telling what's going to happen in the future. And this is all true, and this is also happening. This is the office of the prophet. But when you look at the Bible, this is like 5% of what prophets do.
Yeah.
The majority of what prophets do, they are bringing people back to the Word of God. They're calling away their sins by the name. And they're basically just asking people to come back to the worship of God, come back to true worship. Kind of like that song of Michael Smith, return to the heart of worship. Yeah. That's basically the message of the prophet. So in that sense, God calls all of his people to prophesy. In that sense, so people do that to a higher. So I can see that for a pastor to be called a prophet, it's not really a far-fetched thing.
Yeah.
But over the time, we just started to say no prophets and use it more in a mystical sense or emphasize the supernatural element of the prophetic ministry, which exists, but it's not all that there is to be a prophet.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Hey, what was our next question?
Our last one for today. From where did Micah prophesy the ruler of Israel would come? From where did Micah prophesy the ruler of Israel would come? We have correct answer from Lawson, and I'm sure Skafy's gonna send me something funny. You got it. 0491-064-669 is our text line for you to play along with us. From where did Micah prophesy the ruler of Israel would come?
I reckon we can give that what you wrote to people as a clue. he came.
Should I give?
Look.
Yeah,
let me say.
Yeah, officially we're after the name of a place.
Yeah,
of a city.
And
just so happens
in
that
English,
you could call it the House of Bread or the Bakery Town.
The Bakery Town.
Bakerville.
Yeah.
Yes.
In English, it would be called
like
Bakerville.
Yeah.
Bakersville. Is there? There's probably Bakersville in the United States, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
For sure
Bakersville, definitely.
Yeah. 100%.
The closest name in English would be Bakersville.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's not Bakersville, Indiana, or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, if you know the answer, 0491 064 669 is the number to text. And look, we are jumping today back into the Bible and getting into this greater topic of, well, ultimately, we've been going through type and anti-type. We've been going through symbols through the Bible, allusions from the Old Testament to the New Testament. But particularly today, we're going to be taking a pit stop into the life of Joshua himself and look at these kind of transcendent aspects of him. And then tomorrow seeing, well, who is the quote unquote new Joshua? I think we had a lot of fun yesterday looking at Israel and looking at the different
I had a lot of fun.
categories and the ways of, we looked at ancient Israel itself and then its application in Jesus, its application in church, and then its end of times. We're going to be starting that journey. As I said yesterday, the journey usually starts with looking at the thing itself. We're going to be looking at the type today, which is Joshua. So we're going to be having a look at Joshua and just some of again, you can go through Joshua, you can go through his story individually, but we're going to be seeing some of the transcendent qualities of Joshua and who he was and what he was
All right, where do we go? Where do we open?
And the place where it really starts is actually just a little bit before Joshua in a figure and an individual named Moses. Moses, who, think about this.
I haven't heard about him before.
Moses, likely, if the children of Israel were faithful to God, he would have done Joshua's job. And
as in bringing the people into the promised land?
Into the promised land. Mm-hmm. He would have done Joshua's job. So we're saying that, Jesus is kind of the fulfillment of Joshua, and we're going to make those connections. But Moses is like the original Joshua. So we kind of have maybe a little bit of type and anti-type and a passing of the torch happening there as well.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, go for it.
You said if the people had been faithful to God, then Moses will be the new Joshua. I would say yes to that. Yes, and if Moses was faithful to God, in all cases, he would have been the new Joshua in spite of the rebellion of the people.
That's right.
And why am I saying this is because the story tells us that God intended Moses to place foot on the promised land. Yeah. And the reason that he didn't was because he struck the rock. He lost his mind. He lost his patience as a leader, as a representative of God. Unnecessarily, he struck the rock instead of just asking nicely for the rock to come waters out of it. And God, God did it. God obeyed, so to speak. He went with it. But after this situation passed, he called kind of Moses on the side and say, "Hey, Moses, by the way, bro, you don't hit the rock, like you did, with impatience when I asked you to ask nicely and politely to it. As a result of that, you're not going to get into the Canaan anymore."
I mean, dude, this
talk about high expectations and high standards.
I'm going to tell you a secret. right now. So some curiosity. This
let's ask British to turn down the volume.
This is not like public information. I mean, I was just thinking about like the idea of striking the rock and why that disqualified Moses. What does the rock represent? What does the rock? Who does the rock?
We read
represent?
it in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, haven't we? That rock was Christ.
It represented Jesus, and Moses acting in anger here. It's actually his anger, and it's, I guess, the same anger and fury mixed with jealousy in the New Testament that led the Pharisees, and the people of Jerusalem, the people that were supposed to be on God's side, to strike Jesus, out of anger, and so we can even draw some parallels there. 100%. If you're asking the question, hey, why was it such a problem for Moses to hit a rock?
What does it look like to hit Jesus with a staff?
Yeah.
In this day and age, for you and me, Lawson, what do you think it would be like a close situation?
Well, I think ultimately, like when we act in anger, right? And particularly when I think it was interesting for Moses, the reason I believe that Moses was punished at the hitting of the rock is because if there was no reprimand, that would have turned into violence against the people. Right? So the hitting of the rock was a representation of the violence and anger in his heart, and again, violence in our heart. And it's interesting. Jesus says this, right? Sins that start in the heart are sins. So they're still sin, right? And like, lusting after a woman in your heart is still a sin.
Yeah. And they will bear fruit sometime out of the heart and into an action.
That's right. But when it starts in the heart, it's starting as a sin, not against that person, but a sin against God. Him hitting the rock, and we can, create those connections to Jesus being that rock as well. It's starting as a sin against God and then manifests and outflows into sins against the people. And so if we are holding anger within our heart, I see it as like for example, I'll give you a classic example, of maybe not classic for a lot of people, but, just an example I can think of is like road rage.
Okay.
Road rage usually starts in the car. And usually, you get cut off, or there's someone driving, slow, or taking up the right lane, or whatever.
Mad Max actors out there, just
that's right. It starts as like a roll of the eyes, and then from there it can go to a come on, or it can go to then from there it goes to a yelling,
flipping the bird.
Usually when someone gets to the point, and you see these like YouTube clips, right, of it's like a dash cam or whatever, where someone gets so heated in road rage that they like run someone off the road and like cause them to crash and get injured or die. Like that's the end, right? But usually it starts. So by the time someone does that, it's usually a build up of multiple situations in a row, maybe even years of situations
where they got away with it,
where they got away with road rage or like anger in the heart, and then it manifested to anger in the mouth, and then anger in the car, and then anger outside of the car, and then
you just gave me a business idea, Lawson.
Sure,
maybe we can start a company. We can solve the solution of can solve the problem of road rage. You know how a lot of cars are coming with cameras installed in?
Sure.
So we have a camera installed with AI, and when a person is having a road rage, we have like a little water gun installed next to the
that shoots the next car,
the steering wheel. So when the guy opens the mouth to curse, that water gun shoots him in his mouth, and then he's like, okay, I'm not supposed to do this. Diffuse the situation. We can save lives, Lawson. Come on now, who's backing me up on this one?
Actually, my solution, I would love to have intercom to every single car around you. I mean,
you can just hurl your abuse directly at them.
It's like, hey, no, that's terrible.
But let me tell you this: my application of that, hitting the rock, is what I like to call a bad witness.
Sure. Yeah. Because
look, Moses wanted to do God's will. So people were unreasonable here to start with. It's like the story of Manoah and his wife that we read this morning, like the parents of Samson. Said, "Oh no, we're going to die. We've seen God." And she said, "Look, really? Would God go through all of these lengths, all this effort to talk to us and appear and accept your offering to kill us?" And this is exactly what was happening with the people. The people were saying, "Oh, God is going to kill us. There's no water. We should be, we were better off in Egypt where we could drink water." And Moses had enough. Moses was like fed up with all of that nonsense. He said, "Guys, are you kidding me? Like, God has been providing for you.
Yeah.
He has been raining manna from heaven. He opened the Red Sea. Do you reckon that God will do all of this to just kill the entire population, all of you
In the wilderness, yeah.
From thirst?" And he says, "So here you are, you're a bunch of ungrateful people." And he just, bam. And God says, "Look, Lawson, I get your heart. And Skafy, I get your heart. I know that you're frustrated with these people. I know you're frustrated with their lack of faith. But hey, hear me out here. Don't disqualify my message by behaving in a certain way, because it's actually going to it's going to cause harm to my mission here." You are to use, yes, I want people to know that I care for them, but the ends don't justify the means in God's economy. The means qualify the ends. God said, look, we have to do it the right way.
Yeah.
That legislation that we were looking at in India, this is actually at face value. It's not bad at face value if it was followed by the T, because you're not, from a Christian perspective, I do not know about other major world religions, but from a Christian perspective, you're not supposed to coerce or to force anyone to accept Jesus.
Yeah.
That would be the equivalent of, again, hitting the rock. That's what the law is. No, that law is being abused, and it ends up toiling freedom of religion and everything like that, and all these kinds of things. But I think that God is saying to us, hey, look, if you want to be my disciple, if you want to be my witness, it's not enough for you to say the right words about me, but you have to have the right attitude. And every time that we as Christians, if we have a unloving attitude, it does not matter how great our message is, how well we know all of our prophecies and all of our Bible passages and doctrines, if we're having the wrong attitude towards others, particularly towards those who are closest to us, like our family, our friends, and so on, God is saying, hey, you're actually doing exactly what Moses is doing. You're not fit to get into the heavenly land.
Which, by the way, is why I think I'm deeply, deeply impressed, and it makes sense according to, how God dealt with Moses in that particular story, that when Jesus drove the people out of the temple, a lot of people use that as a justification for her, like, oh, it was a holy anger and Jesus was angry, and therefore I'm allowed to be angry when things don't go my way, or when people are against God. And I'm like,
Lawson's coming to the church and it's just like, no, you're
pushing
throwing the pews into the windows. And
Jesus wasn't. I really stand on that whole idea. No, Jesus didn't come in anger. He came in authority, and he did something that he had the right to do, and wasn't a spur of emotion or it was, he saw it, he was compassionate upon the people, and in his authority he did something that needed to be done. It's like the same thing, people say, it's like when you discipline your kids, you can't do it angry. And that's so real. Like, there is a way to discipline your children in a not angry way, but that's kind and loving and understanding. And that's what Moses didn't do in hitting the rock.
And the whipping Jesus' hand when he was turning the tables in the temple were not intended for the people, but for the animals.
For the animals that were there.
Were there. And by the way, there were legislation already, legislation in the Bible that said that the temple was supposed to be a house of prayer, not a house of commerce.
Of merchandising.
People.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Hey, we've kind of gotten sidetracked a little bit, but listen, essentially what we see is that Moses was this original figure, who was called by God to lead people into the promised land. He didn't end up fulfilling it completely. He led them out of captivity, but not into the promised land. Joshua is then elected as his replacement. We see that he is risen up as the prophet in the place of Moses, that is to lead people into this promised land. Now the question is, does Jesus represent to us the prophet Joshua as someone who leads us into a promised land? We'll talk about it tomorrow.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
With myself, Skafy, Lawson, that's on a little break, and of course, producer Shell. Producer, let's get into the answer to the quiz question. And I had a couple of comments to make. We had some messages that came through, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so what's the name of what's the English name again?
Bakersville.
Bakersville, Indiana is not the right place, but it was Bethlehem.
Bethlehem. Beth means house, lechem, bread, the house of bread.
Wow.
What a better place for the bread of life to come in and get and be born.
And be born and come to life and live.
Jesus, the bread of heaven, was born in the house of bread.
The house of bread. The city of David.
Which is the city of David.
Yeah. Yep. Which, David must have liked eating bread. Which, I mean, good for him.
I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah. I wonder when bread got invented.
Oh, man. The first when we see the
first
would have
time
been like in the Bible, it would be like a very ancient
Genesis.
Just taking grain and mixing it with.
Yeah, Abraham was already offering bread
to get that Yeah.
No, the real question is, when was the first gluten-free person? Like, who was the first person to be celiac? That's my question.
The 90s.
Are there any celiac people in the Bible? The 90s. 1997.
That's right.
That's when it became a thing. I remember making I remember making a Facebook post I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, just being like, hey, when did gluten intolerance become a thing? And bro, I got chased down by the gluten intolerant people.
Then you learn the truth of it all. I do think that it was over that period of time that the wheat and other things have been manipulated so much by the industry that it's destroyed
started to give allergies to a lot of people.
It's given allergies to so many people.
And look, in some people groups, I think there's a genetic component as well, because while wheat is a very popular thing in Western diet, like if you look, for example, if you go to Japan, like traditional Japanese diet, which is based in rice as their main carbohydrate, rice doesn't have gluten. If you go to South America, to the indigenous communities that live there, well, they didn't plant wheat. It's based their diet is based on corn, which is also gluten free. So you could say that there was a lot of people groups that didn't even know what a shred of gluten was.
Sure.
Until, Middle East and European, that's where the whole wheat tradition comes from.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Wheat and barley and
I love rice, bro. I would love to if you could go back to any ancient historical period and live in a place and let's exclude one that includes Bible figures or characters, because obviously we'd like to be there, but where would you go?
Oh, that's interesting. I think medieval Europe would be interesting.
Oh, okay.
Like the 1500s, like the.
Do you want to be like a lord or something? Okay,
no, just a peasant. It's fine. I just wanted to check around.
Yeah, be in the the 1517. Be there for the Protestant Reformation.
Yeah.
Hey, we also have, I want to give a shout out to Eli. It's his birthday today.
Another good thing to use grain for is to make cake.
Yes. Yeah. Eli, hopefully, I don't know if you're gluten free or not, but regardless, I hope you get a cake of various levels of gluten, either none or some, depending on your, certain dependencies or maybe, the ones of your family.
Like I like to say, you're either gluten free or you're a gluten freak. Because bread and pasta, if you can tolerate them and eat, it's yummy.
We're talking about the best of the best.
We also, I just want to give a shout out as well to Melanie and Margie. They're both super excited, Lawson, for our special Christmas program on the 18th of December. So it's coming up in a couple of weeks' time. And Margie even said that she'll have her boots on. She's ready. She is ready. She can't wait. She's counting the days. So shout out, ladies. There are a couple of messages that came through as well, Lawson. Shall we read them?
Yeah, I got one from Wayne here. He says, Skafy, this is for your triathlon training.
Okay.
I've upped my training. So Wayne is legit. He's like, add this to your training. Cut out sugar, wheat, pasta, eggs, white rice, pastries. Get all your carbs and protein from plants and nuts. If you don't swim in the ocean, buy Celtic salt. Your body needs 96 minerals and the ocean contains 82. 12-minute interval trainings before breakfast.
Thanks for the tip, Wayne. Definitely I'm on board with the cutting out the sugar and pastries. Celtic salt sounds like a great plan, but I don't know if I can cut the wheat pasta eggs and white rice.
Sure.
For the time being, but I'll think about it. Speaking of it, like, you know, triathlon, like when you you talk about like Ironman, you know, like you run a full marathon after pedaling like 200 and something kilometers and swimming for 4 kilometers. You do like, you know, 16 hours. Like I was reading a book about a guy who was running an ultra marathon.
Yeah.
And he was like 4 marathons in a row. So he was like 160 kilometers, 100 miles race. So after you finish your first marathon, Lawson, you still have 3 more to go. Yeah, like imagine that. That's like next
stupid,
level endurance.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Hey, before we go out, hashtag 20 million is our code word for today. You can send that one through to receive our 20 million movement guide for next quarter. Send that through to 0491 064 669. Hey, I got a lot of text messages on the text line we won't be able to get to because we are going to be signing out, guys. We have more amazing programming coming up after this. Listen to Taz Encounters. That will come on very, very soon. But guys, talk faith, live faith, and act faith, and you grow strong in Jesus Christ.
God be with you till we meet again. God be with you till we meet again. By his counsel's guide uphold you, with his sheep securely fold you. God be with you till we meet again. Until we meet again at Jesus' feet again. God be with you till we meet again.
Thanks for being a part of the Faith FM family. Join our community on Facebook or get in touch at 1-800-FAITH-FM.